Woohoo! And we're live once again on another Tuesday. And I have a repeat friend and guest in the house today. I have Laura Doman, who is coming to us from Atlanta or the Atlanta metro area. I always got to keep that straight because I never know when people are in the suburbs or whatever. But before we got started today, she had some exciting news. So I want to lead with that. But before we get stuck in, I want to just introduce our topic. So here is our banner. We're talking about AI versus human. Who will rule the talent show? So that's our topic today. And there's just so much to say. It's going to be hard to do it all in 30 minutes. So we'll just touch on whatever we do. But before we get stuck in, Laura, can you please just introduce yourself, tell people who you are and what you do, and then we're going to talk about your great news.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Laura Doman, and I am an actor and coach. And acting I do on camera for film, TV, commercials, industrials. I'm also a voice actor. And I also help people who are not actors, business people, entrepreneurs, get more comfortable and charismatic on camera themselves. So
Awesome. Awesome. So please share the news that you just, because when we came on today, I said, oh my gosh, you look like so presidential sitting there in your chair and you look so official. And then you said, funny you would say that, Gillian.
Yeah. I was just cast as the POTUS for a streaming series. Don't know which streaming service it'll be on. We're shooting in March, but hey, I'm all game for it. So
I love it. So that's just like boosted you up in terms of like your credibility. It's like you could run the country. So I love it. Today live streaming, tomorrow the world. So
exactly.
That's great. It's great. And you said, by the way, you're also right now on Amazon. So tell us, like everybody else is always Amazon Books, but you're Amazon Prime Movies. So tell us about that too.
Yes, this was something that we shot last January and February. And it's called Falling for the Competition. And if you're into the kind of Hallmark movie where boy meets girl, boy loses girl, etc., this is that kind of movie. And it is kind of fun. It's a family-friendly rom-com. And I got a good role in it. I played the lead's mom and the owner of the local coffee shop hangout. And I got some good attitude with it. So it's kind of fun. And
Perfect.
The fun fact is that it was shot in cold, wintry Georgia, where it was freezing, but it was set in hot, sunny summer of Florida. So we're standing out there with our sundresses, just sweating, and then the wind's whipping off the lake.
The magic of film, right? That it's like anything can be other places. Like I remember the movie Oklahoma, when I found out Oklahoma was actually shot in southern Arizona, and it was just like, what, but that's the way it goes. So illusion, it's all an illusion.
Exactly.
I love it. So speaking of illusions,
yes.
What a segue. So we're talking about AI versus human, who will rule the talent show. And this is a hot topic. And because, the first thing I'm going to ask you, Laura, is as a voiceover actor, how does this affect jobs? Like I'm thinking of all the people I know on LinkedIn who are voice actors. They're doing so many different things, commercials and commercial films and, commercials for products and et cetera, et cetera. How is this all affecting the industry?
Well, it's been freaking out the community in 2023, to tell you the truth. But now that we've been living with it for a little while, we're almost seeing that it's not really affecting us as much as we might have thought. In fact, there are a number of people who said they had customers who said, see, we're going to do the AI voice. And they came back a few months later. And there are all kinds of reasons for that. So there is a place for AI. There's definitely a place for human beings. There will be fallout. But with any other technology, I think it also brings in people who otherwise would never use the service. For example, I'm in an improv troupe. And the guy who's in charge of it decided he wanted to make a short little animated explainer video with quick and easy software. It comes with its own standard voiceover. And I actually was aghast when I saw it. And I said, excuse me, David, you've got a real voice actor. I do it for free. But it was quick and easy. And he never would have been able to take the time to work with somebody, pair it up. He didn't have an engineering team, so it made sense for him. So for people who might never use a voice actor, it's a way to get your foot in the door. But for most professional jobs, it's going to be questionable.
I can see that. And even, I know I saw something the other day and it was showing different AI voices and it was showing how the technology is so very, very quickly advancing that you
Yes.
literally can't tell. And the mimicking of literally, I think the service I was looking at, and it escapes me what it was called, but I could actually upload my voice and then it would give me examples. And I thought about, oh, I could see how that might be good for, like, for instance, an audible book. If you had a book and you wanted to have it narrated, that might be a perfect example. But on the other hand, I didn't even want to test it out, Laura, because I was nervous that if I start putting my voice out there, could that, could it be snatched and taken and used? And, those are the privacy laws. I don't even know if there are privacy laws with any of this stuff. And I've heard about the whole John Lennon, music, and it's not him singing.
Yeah.
Him- oh
Let me
no.
address this on several levels. First of all, there's a wonderful organization called NAVA, National Association of Voice Actors, and the president, Tim Friedlander, has been talking already to Congress and working also with SAG-AFTRA, the On-Camera Screen Actors Guild, to be able to put a lot of protections in place.
Mm,
Now, there have been some problems and some big ones. TikTok, we're all familiar with. The
right.
very first voice that it used was taken illegally and without knowledge and permission from a prominent Canadian voice actress. She had actually
Mm,
done a job for a small company in Northern Europe some years ago, text to speech. Well, a series of acquisitions, TikTok had it and put it out there as the voice of TikTok. And she didn't
oh,
even know about it until some friends and family told her about it.
oh,
And they settled out of court, but it was definitely something that TikTok lost on. And
wow.
there have been some other stories like that as well. Now, if you're taking a look at where AI fits and where human beings fit, I can probably give you a really broad spectrum of it right now, knowing, of course, technology is going to advance and it's going to get better. Right now, it's still in its infancy. And I would say it's pretty good if you're going to be doing, let's say, some scratch tracks. You are trying to figure out, how does something I've written sound? How does a voice go with the pictures, the movie that I might have shot? Doesn't make sense. And it will help writers because writing to read is very different than writing to speak. And
Mm,
as a voice actor, I run into that a lot. Long run on sentences, I mean, they're hard to listen to. I think AI is also very good for something that can be quick and short and doesn't require a lot of emotion or human connection. Maybe like announcements when you're on a train, maybe some phone systems. It
mm,
could be some very basic narration. But this is where you're going to run into a problem. A lot of people might think it's fine for audiobooks or for e-learning, training videos. But we can tell when something is human and when it's not. And
mhm,
by that, I mean the authenticity, the connection with the material, the emotion that comes out of how you feel about something, the tone and the pacing we put in naturally, whereas a robotic voice might just go merrily along. We know what needs emphasis. We can impart meaning to it. And that's kind of hard for a robotic voice at this point. And in fact, if you were to listen to a training video that went on for 20 minutes, 30 minutes or more, you probably would stop listening to an AI voice. Instead, if you got a voice actor who used to be a teacher, who knows how to train, who knows how to teach and share, and really is able to reach through that microphone to the individual, which is the same thing that a film actor does with that media, it makes a world of difference. It's the same reason why you're going to listen to, let's say, Sean Pratt narrate an audiobook, and he's done thousands, versus a computer just moaning, toning and moaning on and on and on and on. Now, if you like a big dump of information and you want to put it at 1.5 to 2 times speed, then maybe an AI voice is fine. But most people want to be engaged because any communication is really storytelling. And it doesn't matter
mhm,
whether there's video to it or if it's just a voice. That's our very first communication, sitting around the old campfire. It's storytelling. And what do you need for a story? You need human emotion, connection, feeling. You are talking to somebody, not at them. So, in a nutshell, I think that's where we are right now. So, I think a lot of voice actors' jobs are pretty safe. The ones that are not too experienced in this venue may fall off. Their jobs might be taken by AI. But right now, I see AI taking a lot of opportunities that might not have even existed before. Because, like my improv director, I don't know where to begin. I'm not going to bother with it. but commercials, films, um, any kind of corporate narration, a lot of high-end e-learning, all that stuff is going to probably still be narrated by real people.
I like that. That's very encouraging. And to be honest with you, I think that I would be okay with some AI audio if it was where I expected it. So if I was at a website and there was like a chat, like a robotic chat asking questions, well, I think I would be okay hearing that. Just like when you hear text to speech, like now with LinkedIn, there's the
Mhm.
immersive readers for your newsletter articles. That's a computer reading to you. It's not somebody at LinkedIn, at the help desk reading. So those are expected places, and I don't have any problem with that. But I might, if I go to your LinkedIn profile and, it says that you live, I don't know, maybe you live in Spain, but you've got a British accent, or you live in New York, but let's put New York. And I actually saw somebody who did an AI video, and they were a New Yorker, and they looked like they would have a New York accent. And yet they had this crazy British accent for the video he did. And it was just like, I can't even listen to you. Like my brain disconnected. So, I think so thinking of LinkedIn, Laura, where would you say it would be okay to use AI voices, and where would you not? Just your own recommendation.
For LinkedIn, I think the whole thing is about relationships, and people want to know the real person. I mean, I put a lot of videos out there, and it's going to be me. The
Mm,
difference might be, let's say, if I'm putting something out there that's much longer, and I did it, let's say, a year or two ago, and then the client is saying, well, we got updated for 2024.
mm.
If I had my own synthetic voice that was mapped to my own voice, I'd be able to plug and play it, and that could save a lot of time. And hey, you may never know. But I agree with you. If you're going to have AI, you should expect it. But then again, just think about it. How many times do we really like listening to these phone trees where we're sitting on hold for 10 minutes waiting for a human being to pick up? I mean, we could take a little bit of it, but I think after a while, we're going to get tired of it unless we want Hal from 2001 reassuring us that, Dave, it's okay. That could get a little creepy, though. But I
I
think on
love
LinkedIn, you're pretty much going to want to be your own voice. But if you're doing something really short and sweet and you want to do something different, give it a try.
Yeah, I can see that. And I can see using it with like a spoonful of humor, that you might want to do something, and it's like, maybe I'm going to use the audio pronunciation, but I'm going to use like 16 different voices or something like that. And I've seen some fun things. I remember Kevin D. Turner, he did with an AI tool, he did a video, and he just did like, it was like one of my lives. He just did a snippet from one of my lives. And then he had it in, I think, Spanish and French and then Texan, which is like where Kevin's from. And it was very novel. It was interesting. And I could see that, that's maybe another thing where, I know when I lived in Israel, I would have appreciated having an option to listen to something in English when I was struggling with Hebrew. So I could see that for, foreign language translation. And I know Spotify is apparently doing some experiments with podcasts where they might think about, they're actually doing a few key ones as a beta test to see about taking a famous podcast and then putting it out in multiple languages so that listeners have a choice. And it's like, you can see some pros and cons in that.
Oh, absolutely. Especially with language translation, then people aren't going to have the highest expectations. You just got to be very careful if they're doing that without the knowledge or permission of the person who made the podcast. Just
Mm,
like they're resurrecting dead actors on camera or their voices, they could put you in places and doing things and saying things you wouldn't really want to have said or done. Got to be
exactly.
a little careful.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So let's hop over to our comments and see who's with us today. Oh my goodness, Tina beat Jeff in the house today. So okay, we've got some stuff going on with the live. I'm not sure. So anyways, Tina says lights, camera, AI action. Can't wait to hear this conversation. So that's good. And and she's an example of somebody who can speak many, many languages. And so if you're doing fake, accents, sorry, not fake accents, fake languages, Tina can, out you. So That's good to know. So Jeff says, Gillian and Laura, this human is here to learn what AI can do. Namaste. Ah, awesome, awesome, awesome. And then Mary Wu says, anyone else still getting pre-live at 4 minutes after the show? So that's really strange because it shows that we're live. So ah, the beauty of replays. So according to StreamYard, we're live. We'll see what happens on the replay. And thank goodness we always go to YouTube as well, because that's always a great backup plan. Mary Wu, somebody else is having the same thing, which is probably why we've got not as many comments as we usually do. Okay, Mary Wu, yes, I am still waiting at 5 minutes after the hour. So something went weird, but that's okay. It all works out in the wash because anything can happen on a live, and we're real, and our voices are real, and our pictures are real, and everything else. So okay, a year ago, kind of, Thanksgiving last year, 2022, the whole Chat GPT thing came in like a storm. And we had no idea where any of this AI stuff was going. There was stuff in the beginning, but it's like, it was really horrible. But now it's just getting more and more advanced at such a level that nowadays, literally everything we touch has AI built into it, from, Zoom to StreamYard to this, to that, and everything else. So Laura, fast forward a year from now, where do you think we're going to be?
Oh my goodness. I take it we're speaking more about the voice end of things.
Mm-hmm.
I think you're going to find that the voices are going to be more realistic. They're going to be smoother. I think they're going to be trying to play with conveying emotion, but I almost see it kind of like Mr. Data from Star Trek, The Next Generation. If you've been a Trekkie like I have, Mr. Data is an android, and he is fascinated with human beings, and he doesn't have an emotion chip, and he's trying to figure it out. And that's probably one of the biggest challenges of AI. I think you're going to find it'll end up humorous, but not because they expect it. If you get into something like humor, there's just so many variations: generational, cultural, gender. You have irony, you have sarcasm. I mean, the list goes on and on. So I think when it comes to anything like doing a character or speaking about something that's very passionate subject, AI might not venture there. But I think it's going to get better for some straight business things like narrating videos, or being able to do some basic training modules, or any of those other applications that I mentioned. It'll be interesting. The thing I'm most interested in is that it could take your voice and translate it to different languages.
Mm.
And that will be very interesting too, because there is one aspect of voiceover called dubbing, where actors actually watch the film in progress, and underneath it, running along it, and it's highlighted word by word, is the English word, or whatever language you're going to be speaking in, alongside it. So I'm going to be very curious to see how AI affects that.
Mm. Mm.
We'll find out in a year, won't we?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So what are you doing to protect yourself as moving forward with all this? What, as a voice actor, what are you doing?
Well, it's the second word of voice actor. It's acting. It doesn't really matter what you're doing. You could be doing medical narration. You could be doing a political spot, and you're going to see a lot of those coming down the pike. It's acting. It's not just reading. We can all tell when somebody's reading, just like when somebody is reading something on a teleprompter, their eyes and their head moves along. You could tell that they're not really talking from their own point of view. But the ones that'll do best will be the ones that can focus in on delivering that message. But the other aspects of voiceover that are going very strong would be like in video games or animation.
Mm.
And because I also am an actress on camera, I'm personally going to be leaning into the video games. I mean, I've done voices of goldfish, and I've been off camera operators and wives screaming at their husbands, things like that. But I think that opportunity is only going to get bigger, because that's harder for AI to do, unless you're going to take a celebrity's voice and use it, hopefully with their permission, to do whatever you're trying to do. Commercials are going to continue being human, because they put a lot of money into it. There's a lot of money at stake. And people could tell robots. And the message underneath is, hey, if you're going to go cheap, and if you're not going to even bring in real talent, why should we trust you as a company? So they're doubling down on using real people.
Mm.
It's the low end of stuff that is going to be taken away. It's the people that are brand new and don't have any training or experience. They're going to find that the jobs go away. Overall, the number of jobs for voice actors, I think, probably will start diminishing, but I think they're going to grow in different areas because there's going to be more of a need for actors. I used to work in corporate America in IT, and there was a saying that was very popular, I think, in the late 80s, early 90s: high tech, high touch. And that
Mm.
means every time that technology is bumped up, there has to be a human element to match it. And I think that's what we're going to see.
Mm.
So,
That's brilliant. That's brilliant. I like that. I like that. So what else? What are some other things that we should be talking about on this topic?
well, I think we could also talk about how it affects the on camera world with film
Mm.
and TV. You're probably wondering, how come I'm not seeing so many more movies coming out? Or that I hear it's going to be a break in 2024 because nobody's been making movies. And what about my TV shows? What about these reality shows? Well, the reality shows got started during the last writer's strike,
Mm.
and they're cheap to produce, and you don't need writers, and nobody has to memorize any lines, so you could do it that way. We're seeing so many of those because we had an actor strike going on for about 5, 6 months, and a writer's strike that overlapped that and started even earlier. AI was a big issue about that. And you're wondering, okay, what, dead celebrities? Partially. The other part would be the fact that background actors were going to be used, according to what the studios were thinking, as forever human props. Now, have
Mm.
you ever been on set? And I know some people like to do this for fun because it's kind of cool to see it happening in real life. You can be an extra in a scene, and that means your background. The main characters are eating at a diner, you're in the background pretending to talk, or you're in a crowd scene, things like that. So the studios were figuring, well, we could just take pictures 360, we could map them, we could do all these things and take a real human being and make basically an AI avatar. And then we could plug them into all these different movies and shows. Well, that might be great for the studios, but who owns that property? I think it's the individual who owns their likeness. And they're being paid a whopping $88 for anywhere from like 8 to 12 hours just to stand around at a set and get yelled at. They didn't agree to be used hundreds or thousands of times in future movies and shows, maybe for the next 100 years, where they could just change the clothes, put them in different backgrounds. And so a lot of the fuss has been, you can't do that, studios. You
Mm.
got to pay people, whether they're background actors or principals, what they're worth, and they own their likenesses.
Mm.
And that is one reason why things dragged on so much. The other half was a lot of the streaming services were not paying residuals like you might find on broadcast. But I know I'm getting a little far afield from LinkedIn here. Um, but it also can extend to videos. Any video
Mm.
you see anywhere else on YouTube. It's a matter of who owns the property. And then because AI can blend a lot of voices to create an AI voice, and it can blend a lot of appearances to create a new kind of person. How much of that is human? How much of that is machine? And how much do you own as an individual?
Mm.
So I think
Mm.
we're going to have a lot being debated in the courts and
Yes.
a lot of regulation, even at the federal level.
Yes, and I can see that, and, like, I know that as more and more tools get
Mm.
out there with, AI generated pictures, like, I remember I did something on Canva, and it kinda said, "Oh, you can do this," and it put people in my picture that weren't in my picture, it was just and there was this, like, weird, creepy guy stuck in my picture, but it made me think, "Well, who was that guy? Like, where did these people come from?" So and it's the same with the AI voices. Like I know Clipchamp by Microsoft. That's one where you can just type in your text and you'll have a very nice list of people that you can choose from, read it for you. And you say, oh, I like this guy. And you have all these different people. And I just went, are they real people? Have they been paid? Are they just fake, made up? And it's the same with the photos. And when AI is doing photos, it's like, well, did somebody give their permission to be that? Like you said, the woman, they just took her and they made her the TikTok person. So, oh
Yeah,
my
there you
gosh.
go. You know what? And there are a lot of voice actors that are also starting to what they call clone their voices. They're making
Mm.
AI models of their voices so that they can fill in like little changes on an e-learning, Or if they don't want to do a full audiobook in person, their voice can do it. Or long after they're gone or they're retired, their estate can still use it. I know some voice actors that are actually putting that in their wills that my daughter, my son owns this voice. They'll make the right determination, but it could keep making money for them. So the technology is changing so quickly. I know that when people started doing this about a year and a half ago, I don't even know if it's 2 years ago, I'm not sure. It was a lot of time. I mean, you had to put in like 10,000 hours. You had to put in hours and hours and hours and hours of stuff to do it. And you had to read so much. Now you could do it with a lot less material. And in fact, a lot of voice actors use these casting sites. And you got to be very careful because a lot of the people who use them are non-union actors, meaning they're not protected by the union rules. A lot of them may not even have agents to represent them and protect them. And especially the newer ones, if they don't know what they're doing, they could be signing away their life. I mean, literally, their voice could become somebody else's property. So that voice can be used for lots of different things, or they might find themselves competing with their own voice. It can create conflicts. So if somebody uses your voice to do a commercial for Coca-Cola, then you can never do Pepsi. So, there's a lot to it. And you've got to be smart. You've got to know what the law is, and you got to protect yourself. So
it sounds like there's almost going to be a need for some different roles in the industry that are a combination of lawyer and agent and can protect people from the get-go, knowing both realms of it. So it sounds like this, I know we talk about AI taking away jobs, but in actuality, as we have to adapt to using AI in our world, it might actually create some jobs that don't even exist now to navigate the field.
Oh, it definitely will create jobs. I mean, if you just take a look at something that was brand new, like cybersecurity, people hacking in, it's a hot topic right now. There are so many different positions. Anytime you create a technology, it's going to create new opportunities. But yes, to answer your question directly, there will be a lot more opportunities for entertainment attorneys, especially if they focus in on technology, because tech and entertainment have been coming together for quite some time. You can get degrees on animation and that kind of graphics. And the legal aspect of it is not going to be ignored. So yeah, there's definitely a lot there. And there are going to be people using the technology that have never done it before. My guess is that just like we like to use ChatGPT to come up with our ideas, to brainstorm, maybe to test headlines and such, we wouldn't want it to be our full essay, our article, because you can tell. I mean, you've probably gotten emails that are like the same, except one word changes from different people. But like with this, it'll give you an idea of how does this sound and how am I going to want to go in this direction? And it can spawn more ideas and it'll spawn more work. And then you're going to need to bring in the engineers because somebody's got to know how to work with this AI. You're going to want to bring in the talent who's willing to work with the AI, the creative people, the clients. And, I think it'll continue to grow.
Yep. And I can see that there's a balance of there's some things that are good. The fact that so many different companies are embracing this is like upping the game with all these software tools. So my number one tip to everybody right now is don't buy a yearly subscription to anything because we just don't know how something is going to change month to month. So you might say, oh, I'm all in on Adobe, but then Descript went and, chunked up this little guide. So now they're doing this plus this. And you're like, oh my gosh. So it's almost like it's up the game of everybody has to now do so much better. So in a way, it's kind of a good thing in that respect for
it is
capitalism.
Absolutely. Yeah, because the people who might go to one of these casting sites that shall go unnamed, where they only pay a few dollars, you get what you pay for. Although you're going to use the voiceover, but people will realize there's a lot better quality. And overall, there's going to be the challenge to differentiate yourself from the AI machine. And that's where the acting comes in.
Yep. Exactly. So Karen joined us. Hello from Dutchess County, New York. So one person got through today. So, oh gosh, so it's crazy. So we'll do it on the replay. So we got to the end of our 30 minutes. Laura, what do you want to give us as a takeaway to sort of sum up the topic that we talked about?
Well, I would relate it back to what you do, Jillian. The very best way to show your authenticity, that you're a human being and that you care, is to do live messaging, live videos like this LinkedIn Live. And if you're not going to do that, do what I do. Put out the videos, but make sure it's you talking from your personality. And the only thing I could say is don't be afraid to do it because you don't have to be perfect. There's no such thing as doing it right. Be human. And that's how you differentiate yourself from AI. And honestly, that's what most people want to connect with.
I love that. And that's really the bottom line of how you're going to win. How you're going to win. Just
Yes.
continue to be you because there's no other you out there than you. So it's a great thing. I love that. Well, thank you so much for being here today. We're excited. I'm going to go check out your Amazon Prime show
Thank
during
you.
the holidays. So this would be good when we have some downtime. Who doesn't want one of those Hallmark specials? It's like, yeah, when there's so much dark in the world, we need a little bit of light. So that's good. That's
And
good.
it is the holidays. And if anybody couldn't get on and had a question, feel free to ask it away in the comments below my email. I'm happy to
Yep.
answer.
And I encourage everybody to connect with Laura or follow Laura. If you connect with her, please send her a lovely note. And then, she'll get back with you as well. And I too will maintain the comments. So thank you everybody for being here today. Sorry for the technical difficulties. The joys of being live. Okay. Talk to you next time. Bye.